Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that has its focus on emotional control and mental fortitude, also offers many other kinds of compelling lessons. Today we will go over 14 Stoic lessons to avoid being manipulated and taken advantage of. Before we start this video, I would like to say thank you for watching and make sure you stay till the very end in order to fully absorb this ancient Stoic knowledge. Number 1. Pay attention to flattery. The ancient Stoic philosophers, who developed a school of thought focused on virtue, wisdom, and living life in agreement with nature, emphasized the importance of being on guard against manipulative tactics from those who wish to influence us. One such tactic they warned about was excessive flattery, when someone showers us with effusive praise, over-the-top compliments, and behaves in an overly ingratiating manner. The Stoics advised paying close attention when confronted with this kind of overdone flattery, because it is often a technique meant to soften our defenses, stroke our egos, and make us more pliable before the flatterer asks something of us or urges us to change our views or behavior to align with their wants. By elevating our emotions and perceptions of ourselves, they hope to catch us mentally off guard, so that in this euphoric state, we become much more open to requests and influence. As a practical Stoic exercise, we should train ourselves to spot when praise transitions from honest appreciation into exaggerated flattery disconnected from reality. True, authentic praise stems from truth, whereas excessive flattery often bears the slippery, effusive marks of manipulation. The Stoics warn that in those moments of encountering cloying flattery, a rational person will pause and carefully question the underlying motives instead of instantly acquiescing. This prevents manipulation by grounding us in reason instead of emotion. It also helps preserve our independent judgment. So by spotting the warning signs of inauthentic, over-the-top praise, we can employ Stoic principles to shield ourselves from manipulation. The next time someone excessively flatters you, resist the euphoria you may temporarily feel and cautiously examine what they want from you. Maintain self-control and perspective. Make level-headed assessments aligned with truth rather than getting swept away by heightened emotions. This demonstrates wisdom and refusal to be manipulated, values the ancient Stoics demonstrated centuries ago that still apply today. Number 2. Watch for people pushing your emotional buttons. Stoicism teaches us that when someone deliberately provokes an emotional reaction from us, they may be employing manipulative tactics for their own hidden motives. So we must be vigilant about spotting when people toy with our feelings to upset us and put us off balance. A manipulator may intentionally push emotional buttons by making hurtful remarks, stoking anger and anxiety, or magnifying grievances between people. Their goal is getting targets emotionally worked up to cloud logical thinking and reasoned debate. In our irrational state, gripped by sadness, outrage, vengeance, or other intense feelings, we become more malleable to the manipulator's underlying aims. The Stoics warn about ceding control of our emotions and behavior when under such deliberate attack. While easier said than done, they advise responding with discipline, patience, and wisdom, rather than lashing out or making demands. When we remain calm, clear-headed, and aware of ploys to upset us, we see the manipulator's motives more sharply. Any overreaction or drama fuels their efforts to destabilize and exploit. As Stoic practice, it helps tremendously to enter these encounters psychologically prepared for potshots against our emotions. If we understand manipulators often deliberately provoke and poke at feelings for their purposes, we can respond rationally and avoid being pulled into irrational behavior working to their advantage. This self-control puts us back firmly in charge. Number 3. Be wary of appeals to urgency or scarcity. The ancient wisdom of the Stoics implores us to proceed with caution whenever someone applies pressure by stressing immediate action is essential, or rare opportunities will be lost unless we act quickly. Stoicism teaches that employing urgency and enforced scarcity as influence tools should raise red flags, warning us that judicious evaluation could suffer if rushed or emotionally hurried into hasted decisions not in our self-interest. By hammering rhetorically that we must decide now or miss out, refusing to provide vital information, or emphasizing how inaction threatens what we want, manipulators pull psychological levers, increasing tension and time pressure. However, yielding to these forces often brings later regret upon more sober reflection, when we see hidden costs or motivations kept shrouded in the manic push for urgent action. Erica Benner, modern Stoic ethics writer, explains that Stoics are wary of rapid personal transformations based solely on mental rapture because these rarely persist. In line with Stoic ideals of self-possession, even amidst external pressures, when we recognize artificial urgency being pushed through cooked-up deadlines, or false scarcity created by inflated hype, we can ground ourselves in present reasoned deliberation, blocking manipulation of rushed timelines ill-serving our long-term interests. Asking questions, evaluating impartially, gathering more facts, testing specious claims of impending loss. All sabotage unethical manipulation that exploits short-term spikes of fear, impulse, and apprehension. Time pressure should not rule if we aspire to Stoic fortitude. Calm and gradual reason protects us. Number 4. Notice when important details are left out. A central warning embedded within Stoic philosophy is to be attentive to what information gets omitted or actively concealed when someone is trying to persuade us to embrace a certain viewpoint or course of action. The details we are not being told often hold the greatest keys to discerning truth from manipulation. Stoicism stresses developing constant vigilance against half-truths, misdirection, and strategic omission. When making a case, ethical persuaders will readily furnish full evidence, context, and transparency about their claims. Manipulators tend to hide inconvenient facts undermining their arguments, or which might reveal ulterior motives. Their arguments then depend on ignorance fostered through incomplete data. An informed, rational decision aligned with the Stoic virtues requires assembling a comprehensive assessment of circumstances. We must listen for rhetorical sleights of hand, skipping over relevant facts and background. When encountering arguments missing key details or denying access to the full picture, Stoic principles advise suspending judgment until acquiring all available perspectives and information. Otherwise, we remain vulnerable to sly manipulation through the information specifically kept invisible to us. Seeking out the fragments of the story obscured from view allows applying reasoned Stoic discernment more accurately. We expose potential ulterior agendas that ply half-truths to control our beliefs and choices. By insisting on thorough evidence and illustration, we gain power against manipulation and uphold the ideals of Stoic virtue, self-possession, and wisdom. Number 5. Don't make decisions when angry, tired, or rushed. A key Stoic teaching is that we become most susceptible to manipulation and poor judgment when angry, exhausted, or rushed. In these overwhelmed states, we lack the clarity and composure to perceive ploys or insidious intentions from those trying to persuade us. The ancient Stoics warned about deliberately incurred mental fatigue and agitation making us vulnerable. When we feel irritation, impatience, or emotional strain, it clouds rational faculties and degrades wise decision-making aligned with virtue. Manipulators frequently use verbal attacks and agitation to purposefully inflame these feelings, hoping to break down resistance to their influence. As Epictetus said, if a person gave your body to any stranger he met on his way, you would certainly be angry. And do you feel no shame in handing over your own mind to be confused and mystified? Stoicism gives remedies to avoid this, advising we postpone determinations requiring serious discernment until we re-establish level-headed, tranquil thinking. Wait for anger at provocations to fully subside. Get proper rest when exhausted rather than pushing through drained. Build mental resilience against rushed timelines meant to strain our equanimity. By following these Stoic practices, external pressures lose their ability to degrade internal control needed for seeing truth over manipulation. Our human faculty of reason remains sacred, and most sound when emotions are even, energy is renewed, and deliberation protected. The teachings help avoid exploitation from those deliberately trying to agitate us into impulsive, irrational decisions, not in our long-term self-interest. Number 6. Trust your intuition. Stoicism teaches that our intuitive senses often pick up on subtle clues we may consciously overlook when someone is attempting manipulation or deceit for their own gain. Even if such efforts seem friendly or harmless on the surface, our gut may alert us to ulterior motives hiding beneath the exterior. Tuning into these intuitive warnings serves as a line of defense. Renowned Stoic thinker Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Always follow your inner sense of what should be avoided or pursued," highlighting the importance of heeding intuitive misgivings as a guide. When our gut tightens telling us a pitch sounds too good to be true, a new friend's interest feels somehow insincere, or details of a scheme remain fuzzy, attention should be paid. Our intuitive capacities have evolved over millennia into sophisticated perception systems attuned to the slightest cues of danger or deception from others. The ancient Stoics understood this, counseling full awareness when subtle feelings of distrust or apprehension surface in relationships or situations. Though easy to dismiss, gut reactions provide insight rationality may miss. As a Stoic practice, when intuitive hesitation arises regarding a person's motives or deal offered, pause to consciously process why this may be rather than ignoring the concern. Verbally acknowledge the feeling, analyze its origins without judgment before proceeding. This grants intuition a wise hearing and opportunity to more closely evaluate scenarios for ethical soundness. In this way, Stoicism harnesses intuition's discerning power to avoid manipulation. Number 7. Be very cautious about believing promises. One of the central pillars within Stoic philosophy is judging people strictly by their actions rather than mere words or promises, which rings all the more true when trying to discern authenticity from manipulation. Stoicism advises exercising abundant skepticism when assessing lofty assurances or florid pledges. Wait to see if conduct matches the rhetoric. Marcus Aurelius guided his followers that the first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. The emperor knew that focusing squarely on deeds provides clarity about intentions and underlying character that hollow verbal vows often obfuscate. The Stoics counseled resisting disposition to optimism bias when encountering assurances of future aid, loyalty, or compliance. Flattering speech frequently cloaks selfish interests rather than signaling commitment through demonstrative acts. Hence the Stoic emphasis on case-by-case confirmation that words transition into observable behavior before fully trusting. Vigilance around empty gestures or skewed representations means verifying, rather than hoping promises materialize as pledged. As Epictetus noted, sheep don't show how much they have eaten by crowing, but by digesting. Like them, ethical people prove themselves through daily substantive actions walking the talk. Stoicism's wisdom thus stresses judging integrity strictly on conduct, rather than warm phrases that may manipulate perception. Number 8. Watch for excessively complex situations or explanations. Stoic teachings make clear that unnecessary complexity in arrangements, proposals, and communications often conceals deceitful motives rather than reflecting an innate complicated reality. When details multiply beyond necessity or clear explanations get lost in verbose technical terms, it violates the Stoic ideals of simple wisdom and transparency. Marcus Aurelius himself was suspicious of complexity meant to deliberately confuse and obscure, arguing that almost always, straightforward facts can be extracted from the most complex matters with effort and discernment. Indeed, the Stoics viewed ethics and truth as fundamentally simple in nature. Clear, concise articulation should therefore flow for upright proposals and relationships free from duplicitous agendas. Complex situations breed opportunity for buried provisions not in one's self-interest or subtle circumlocution bending truth. So when new information piles on more data than seems useful, or previously simple processes become littered with red tape, or language turns impenetrably vague, Stoic principles advise pausing for more analytical scrutiny rather than credulous acceptance. Resist glossing over multifaceted details even if intimidating. Break complexity down into comprehensible components to sniff out contraventions from sincerity. Simplicity itself possesses elegance reflecting honesty of purpose worth embracing. As Stoicism founder Zeno preached, wisdom relies on clarity and transparency. Complexity should raise suspicions rather than assume benign necessity. Cutting through convolutions protects against manipulation. Number 9. Don't be afraid to ask questions. A keystone of Stoic philosophy is continuously questioning and scrutinizing information, rather than passively accepting assertions and narratives we receive. Stoicism stresses that asking probing, incisive questions signals wisdom and refusal to enable manipulation or deceit, even if it challenges conventional assumptions. The influential Roman Stoic Seneca urged those seeking truth to pay close attention and puzzle over things. He knew confusion or gaps in arguments open doors for exploitation, if left unexamined more deeply through deliberate querying. No explanation we encounter, however confidently presented, should enjoy automatic benefit of the doubt. Stoicism highlights the obligation we have to ourselves in order to avoid being misled by shrewd manipulation from those who prefer leaving certain notions uninterrogated. Even simple clarifying questions can gradually unveil contradictory logic or ulterior self-interest lurking underneath. Developing habits around asking investigatory questions at each phase inoculates us from operating on false or dangerously incomplete premises. While questioning perceived wisdom carries some social friction, the Stoics invites it as a crucial process enabling ethical living by fully comprehending situations. Musonius Rufus, a famous Stoic teacher, trained students in the Socratic method of probing discussion to uncover deceit masking as truth. See every scenario as an open case welcoming more inspection. Stoicism arms manipulation's opponents through courageous questioning. Number 10. Take your time making decisions. Among the central pillars of Stoic philosophy is the necessity of deliberative, carefully weighed decision-making to insulate ourselves from manipulative exploitation or short-sighted choices we later come to regret. By slowing down and evaluating options rationally rather than reacting impulsively, we take control. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Most bad decisions come from rushing," underscoring why it is vital we structure key personal, professional, or civic decisions around consciously carving out space for unhurried consideration involving multiple perspectives. Rash judgments get ensnared by emotions and incomplete data which manipulators exploit. Part of training our Stoic faculties involves building habits, systems, and environments, encouraging patience so we can detach from internal or external pressures, demanding hasty resolution. When forced into rapid decisions, we lose ability to closely weigh consequences, assess ethical soundness, gather additional input, or simply experience clarity of thought through calm introspection that serves long-term wisdom. Cultivating patience should infuse the very rhythm and tempo of our judgments, so we become less vulnerable to manipulation by remaining intentionally settled, avoiding time traps. Epictetus agreed, advising his students, "Don't allow yourself to be hurried into assent by the excitement of the moment." For robust decisions, the Stoics steadfastly embody unhurried strategic deliberation. Number 11. Consider all angles before deciding. Stoic wisdom heavily cautions against decision-making anchored in a single viewpoint or piece of information, rather than judiciously weighing multiple perspectives. By considering all angles, we gain a panoramic understanding of truth that helps reveal deceitful manipulation favoring narrow self-interest. The Roman Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius guided those seeking virtue in judgment to always define the matter clearly and truly, and then see what relates to the question at hand. In other words, expand focus wider to incorporate more evidence and context, instead of limiting lenses to conveniently filtered messaging. Seeking broad input for important choices aligns with Stoicism's emphasis on clear seeing. Those practicing deception rely on limiting dialogue to restrictive narratives that manipulate emotions and conceal contrary details. The solitary angle becomes a weapon of influence rather than gateway to truth or ethical outcomes. An expansive Stoic worldview therefore mandates gathering diverse interpretations and data inputs before determining action on significant questions. We strengthen defenses against manipulation by rebuffing truncated inquiry in favor of more panoramic critical thought, encapsulating all salient viewpoints related to the decision. Virtue relies on open-minded discovery of multidimensional reality. Number 12. Stay grounded in your values and principles. A central Stoic teaching is preserving connection to our deeply held values and principles no matter external coercion or psychological tactics attempting to force compromise for hidden agendas. Stoicism regards virtue ethics and integrity as an inward citadel manipulators cannot breach if we remain loyal. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said firmly, "The mind which is free from passions is a citadel, for man has nothing more secure to which he can fly for refuge." This metaphor stresses the protective power of acting from values rather than pliant emotions, even when under severe pressure. Integrity forms an unassailable fortress against exploitation. Marcus Aurelius also warned followers to avoid compromise due to manipulation by staying rooted in truth. As he wrote, "Never value anything as profitable that compels you to break your promise, to lose your self-respect, to distrust, to curse, to act the hypocrite." In moments of tension, returning to the bedrock of values and virtue preserves freedom. By training ourselves to continually reference our principles and ethical code before assenting, We develop resilience against coercive influence that seeks to bend decisions toward deceitful ends rather than moral wisdom. The Stoics frame compromised virtue as an internally inflicted moral casualty from which external manipulators benefit. Their philosophy strengthens inner moral fortification. Number 13. Consult others you trust before making big decisions. The Stoic framework for avoiding manipulation when faced with major personal, professional, or civic decisions rests upon diligently consulting trusted mentors to supply broader wisdom and a reality check safeguarding objectivity. Rather than relying on instincts alone, Stoicism values soliciting diverse, honest feedback. Seeking counsel from multiple vantage points before determinations with significant consequence comes directly from Marcus Aurelius's own example as Roman emperor. He assembled wise advisors with permissions to speak frankly when formulating major policies, checking his own potential blind spots. Marcus knew isolation breeds poor judgment. The Stoic philosopher Seneca counseled friends to exchange ideas in order to sharpen thinking and reduce manipulation because we can miss much that is obvious to others. External mirrors expose our rationalizations or questionable assumptions we cannot see when deciding alone. Feedback provides crucial perspective. Trusted confidants should share key virtues and traits: discretion, integrity, candor, wisdom, but project different viewpoints, playing the vital role of philosophical friend, questioned about big decisions. They crucially prevent insularity and self-deception. By consulting others, Stoicism transcends manipulation through collective reason. Number 14. Educate yourself on manipulation tactics. Seeking knowledge on specific techniques of emotional or psychological manipulation constitutes a central practice within Stoic philosophy for preventing covert influence over our decision-making and relationships. Education breeds lasting power and resilience against exploitation. Marcus Aurelius guided his followers that to safeguard virtues like justice and wisdom, you must know how manipulation works through direct study, rather than relying on casual assumptions. He knew comprehension of social persuasion tactics strengthens defense against those who deceitfully exploit them to further individual interests. The Stoics valued all education, but reserved special urgency for applied teachings revealing particular methods and warning signs, denoting when unfair interpersonal leverage gets exerted in sophisticated ways to bypass objections. Seneca urged fellow citizens to devote energy toward this learning in order to preserve autonomy and self-possession, as manipulation grows more scientifically effective, saying, "I shall never cease to contemplate the whole field of tricks which people use." In true Stoic fashion, Epictetus encapsulates the imperative for knowledge about concealed influence tactics with his famous dictum, "What then is to be done? To make the best of what is in our power, and take the rest as it naturally happens." Through vigilance education, we can claim power to make ethical decisions and maintain relationships safeguarded against surreptitious interests. Knowledge empowers Stoic protection. If you are listening to this, thank you for staying till the end. If you feel any of these Stoic lessons resonated with you today, feel free to start a Stoic discussion in the comments. I welcome Stoic discussions as they are what the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca advised for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.